Last time I made a video like this, I got quite the backlash from the online community when I said that I actually believe Russia is winning its war in Ukraine. And we've all heard the news about North Korean troops being sent to Russia and entering into combat with the Ukrainian army. And despite the backlash, I'm the kind of guy who loves to double down when people think I'm wrong. So let me tell you why my critics are wrong and how North Korea will be an unbeatable adversary in this conflict. If you haven't heard, Ukraine has actually launched an assault into Russia, capturing some territory and fighting both North Korean and Russian soldiers.
So, if Russia is sending convicts and North Koreans to fight for them, doesn't that mean they're losing?
No, it just means that Russia has friends who will actually die fighting for them, while Ukraine just has some people in Washington, D.C. and European countries who will send them money. And when I say that North Korea is unbeatable, do I mean that if the United States military attacked the country that it would win? Absolutely not. But North Korea is like any other country in the world in a way that makes them very difficult to beat militarily. They believe Kim Jong-un is God. Some critics will dismiss this and say, no they don't, but they do. They bow to statues of Kim Jong-un and his father Kim Jong-il. They offer these statues plant sacrifices, and they have legends about Kim as a child prodigy, having unexplained genius-level knowledge, and there is even talk about his ability to manipulate the weather. North Korea is the only truly Orwellian society we have left, where information to the outside world is inaccessible, and the political leader of the country is viewed as God, all-present and all-knowing. And throughout time, this hasn't been unusual. The Romans had a cult where they would sacrifice to their emperors, and often revere them as godlike figures. That's why Christianity was such a threat to the Roman Empire. Christians had their own god, and in a way, this endangered the Romans politically because only the emperor was to be treated as god. But putting Rome aside, this belief does make a country very hard to beat in a military conflict. We should know, one of America's current allies and a country we have been to war with used to also believe that their leader was God. That country is Japan. We all know the history there, don't we? Pearl Harbor, Hiroshima, Nagasaki, boom! The rest is history. But there's a far more fascinating and darker history behind the fall of Japan. First of all, Japan kicked Russia's red little ass in a war, capturing all of Korea, before North and South Korea were a thing, and even killed this guy, the Vice Admiral of the Russian Navy. That's a wicked mustache. And not too long after that, they took over Taiwan and occupied parts of China before launching a full-scale invasion of China in 1937. Iris Chang, a Chinese-American author, documents the brutality of the Japanese army during this time period. After interviewing several survivors of the atrocities committed by Japan in China, she tragically took her own life. Thankfully, she left us with a blessing, her book, The Rape of Nanking, in which she asks a central question. What possessed the Japanese to act so brutally? How did Japan beat a country well over 5 times its size? And what inspired the people of Japan to take on Russia, China, and the rest of the world? What turned the young men of Japan into killing machines capable of slaughtering 20 million people? A big part of that was that they believed that they were doing God's work, and specifically the emperor, who they worshipped as God. But wait, you might say, didn't Japan just surrender because they got nuked? They were still defeated even though they believed their emperor was God, right? Well, not really. Because for the Japanese, the nuclear weapons used on Hiroshima and Nagasaki weren't just scary, they also had theological implications. If the Emperor of Japan was God, how could he have let such a horrible thing happen? Well, the Shintos of Japan didn't have to wonder for long, because on January 1st of 1946, the Emperor of Japan made an announcement. People of Japan, I'm not God. That's pretty much what the announcement was. And after that, the centuries-long tradition of military expansion ended, and Japan became a pacifistic country. So what does all of this have to do with Ukraine? Well, after 2 years of being ravaged by war, Ukraine isn't just fighting Russia and its vast army of mercenaries and convicts. They're now contending with an army who believes that they're fighting for God. And I don't think this should be taken as a sign that Russia is somehow at a disadvantage because it's got thousands of foreign troops fighting for them. This is really not good. And it's not laughable or memeable either. This little rocket man's decision to send his troops to support Russia is going to cost thousands of Ukrainian soldiers their lives. And there are already reports that the soldiers from North Korea are much better fighters than those from Russia. Well, no wonder. If I thought I was going to be buried in the cold Moscow dirt for some asshole, I wouldn't be fighting very hard either. But if I thought Kim Jong-un was God, I would probably fight pretty hard for him. So we will see what this means for Ukraine, but I stand by my original statement that Russia isn't losing this war, and North Korea will not be easily defeated by Ukraine because they have a reason, even if it's a fake reason, to fight until the bitter end. Stop, real quick. If I have you here, that means you enjoyed the video. Less than 1% of people who watch my content are subscribed. My co-creator and I have a lot of really cool stuff in the works, and I'd appreciate it if you do us all a big favor and subscribe to our channel if you'd like to see more. Until next time, the Muzz is out.